Okay, so here's a great example of how I teach a colt. Sometimes you can do this without having to rub their back foot, but if they're extremely kicky and you think they're really going to try and get you with their back feet, this is a safer way to start teaching them. I want to make sure they know how to tie well and not set back first. So now we've got that horse to this point. I can pick up his front feet. He's a little kicky with his back feet. So I've got his back foot roped. I didn't video the start, I should have. He kind of walked around a little bit and turned his butt until he got into the sitting position. But now I've got his foot. So a lot of people will try and hold this. If you're doing this on a saddle horse, it doesn't matter as much, but it's kind of hard on your saddle horse if they're really kicking at you and if you don't have a very broke one. Most people do this on the ground, but they'll hold the rope. When that horse kicks, it'll burn the shit out of their hand. Excuse my language. What I found is I like to stand to the side a little bit. I have a little more leverage, and when that horse pulls the rope, it won't swing out of my hands quite as much. If you stand at the correct distance and you just put it on your hip here and kind of use this coil piece as an anchor, when they kick, wow, that was actually really nice, okay. He's not kicking as hard as a lot do. When they pull on you, it won't slide through your hands and burn you. So he stopped kicking for a second, so I gave him his rope back. I'll let him chill until he quits. Ideally, I want him to not kick after I release him, but sometimes that takes a little while for a horse to figure out that they don't need a kick. So I'll kind of put it on my hip again as an anchor, ask him to pick it up, scoot back a little bit, and once he relaxes, I'll do this as long as it takes. So be prepared to sit here for a while, commit to this. Right there, he stopped kicking, relaxed, and I let him go. That was a good example of what I want. I want them to not kick after I release them. See him chewing his lips right now. If he wants to kick and I'm not asking him to, whatever, he's just getting used to that feeling of the rope on his foot. Give him a minute to think about it and rest. I love to see him licking and chewing. So I'll ask again, you don't want to stand too close to him, you'll be in a line of fire. But this hip thing is the best thing I've found. I don't burn myself and I don't hurt my hands or my hip or anything. Right there, he relaxed, so I let go. So I just hold that pressure and let them fight themselves until they realize, hey, it's a lot easier when they ask me to pick up my foot. So just chill. Let him think about it again. Ask again. I want to do this where I can pick it up. No, I was about to give it to him, but he jerked it away. I want to do this until I can get them to pick up their foot a few times without kicking at all. So there's a release. I gave him his foot back and he stopped. We're going to do this a few times and I'll come back. Another thing I'll mention real quick is I don't like this to be their first experience with the rope. I've already gotten him used to rubbing it all over his body, roping with it, letting him run around with him on his butt. He's very used to this rope by now, seeing it on his offsides and everything. So I don't want this to be a bad first experience with a rope. And as far as getting the rope on the foot, some people will just lay a trap like you do when you're team roping or heeling or whatever. Or you can just lay a loop on the ground, ask them to move their hip over, and pull it up off the ground, whichever he feels more comfortable. Some horses might freak out a little bit when you lay a trap on them, which is no big deal, but personal preference there. Once I get him doing it comfortably a few times on his back foot this way, I'll come up from this direction and have him hold it under this way. Okay, a couple minutes later, I've got to where he'll pick it up and not fight me on it. One thing I also kind of like to do, I said that, now I know it wants to test me. I like to kind of wiggle it around before I let him drop it. Because when you're actually holding their foot, of course we'll work on duration and getting them to hold it up longer and longer, but when you're holding their foot up, you're not just holding it in one spot, you're kind of moving it around. And you wiggle like that, it gives them the opportunity to move their foot around and not kick you. So, wiggle, set down. That was good, he didn't kick thereafter. Once I get pretty comfortable with him with this, you can wiggle it around a little bit and then let him drop it. I might come up to the front. Now, a horse can run this way and get you, so just be careful to be out of their line of sight. This is a different feeling for them, to pull it up forward. So if they understand it really well in the back, it might be different to have that feeling of them coming forward. There we go, that was good. If he wants to kick right now afterwards, I'm not real concerned about it. That'll just go away after he gets more more comfortable. Here we go. With him having it be held forward. Good. We want to get to where we can pick it up from all spots. Because in a minute, we're going to have to take this rope off. We don't want them to cow kick us when we come up to the front of his flank area to reach and grab this off with. Back, we're going to go from a few different angles again, wiggle, drop. I'm not going to start getting this rope off until he's not kicking after I release him. I don't want him thinking he needs to be kicking at all. We're in control of his foot. We need him to know that kicking doesn't do him any good. He's kind of leaning on me. There we go. He's holding his leg a little bit funny, but he was soft and not kicking and holding it up nice. Release. Now if he keeps trying this, I'm going to eventually start, like if he does it here, I'll hold on to it longer. I'll pick it back up again. So I'm going to drop it, and then if he wants to kick, I'm going to pick it back up until he stops kicking. I don't want that to be a habit. There we go. Let's come to the front, try again. Good. And if he wants to keep kicking, we're going to hold it until he wants to not kick out of it. There we go. We want him to just set it down and that be that. But boy, he's licking and chewing and thinking about it. I want to get to where I can get kind of close in proximity as well. I started off a little further back with a little more leverage and a little more of a safe space. But I got to get to where he's comfortable with me picking that foot up and being close to him, because like I said, we got to take this off and do it without the rope eventually. Good. Now I'm going to kind of work my way up towards his foot where I would actually stand and pick it up. Of course, pet on him and everything, let him know you're back in his space again. I might pick up a front foot, pet him. Now I'm going to use this rope and work my way in. Good. I'm going to start with the rope as the priority here. And let him get used to me in this position. Boy, and then I'll strip this rope off and use just my hand. Loosen that up a little bit. I might even pull it through to where I can use the undo to pick it up. Wiggle it around, drop it down. Licking and chewing and thinking about that. I'm going to try with just my hand. Good. Now that's a lot safer working on with what we just worked on when we go to start picking up their feet. Pull it back a little bit, drop it down. You're still, anytime you're teaching a horse this, you're always in the kick zone, so just gotta have some feel. Pick it up, wiggle it around. This is why we did the wiggle thing. Drop. Now eventually, once he trusts me more, I'll work my way back, and he'll be picking up his foot like a pro. Now, of course, with every horse, you gotta do the other side too. So same thing there.